everybody. Happy New Year. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and today is December 31st, 2022, and it's about 4 p.m. Pacific time here. So it may be New Year's if you're on the other side of the world. So I want to wish you a happy New Year's Day. And I'm here today to talk about the coming week's transits and to do our weekly angel scopes. This is where I'm going to do an angel reading. It's one tarot card and 2 angel decks combined together to give you a reading for the first week of the year and how to traverse the transits. This is based on whole sign Western astrology, going by your rising sign. I absolutely think it's super important to check your moon sign. Humans are emotional beings. They manifest on their emotional body. So that's going to be important. Then your sun, and then a stellium. If you have a stellium, that would be where you had 3 or more personal planets in one sign or house. This to me indicates a soul's focus and a bit of an intention. The soul wants to experience something as a result of that stellium. So that would be a powerful focus. And in some ways, wherever that stellium is may resonate more than, say, your sun sign does. Okay. So, and if you'd like to book a reading with me, I am available during this coming week. You can get an astrology reading. You can get an angel reading. If you email me, I will send you information. It is my email address is below in the description. Okay, so I think I've done a full moon in Cancer video that's gonna, the full moon in Cancer is this January 6th. Sorry, I'm stuttering my words. Mercury retrograde. Thank you very much. Mercury went retrograde 2 days ago. There's also a video on that. Please check those out. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to focus in on Mars this week because Mars is stationing to go direct on the 12th of January. So it has slowed its roll, as they say. And Mars is at 8 degrees today. And I'm very keyed into the degrees, as you guys know who watch me, because I feel like it's fine-tuning the intention when we go into these signs, these houses, and these planets, because they have broad meanings. So here, Mars has really been going through an opportunity in Gemini to reflect on how Mars thinks, how Mars talks, how Mars shows up to its community, to the people around it. And oftentimes Mars is referred to as the warrior. So the energy is inferred to be aggressive, to be blunt, to be rude. And Mars is also a hero. Mars is an instinctually courageous, brave energy. So when we hone these two dynamics of this planet, we become very powerful. So that's what I think this retrograde, the 7-month period that Mars has stayed in Gemini, has offered us. So here this week, Mars is going to be he's going to be at 8 degrees from January 1st, that's Pacific time, through January 23rd, 2023. This is at both retrograde and moving forward, but this is a huge period of time to be at the 8th degree, a standing still and looking at how I've transformed my Martian energy. We all have Mars somewhere in our chart. How have I transformed that energy to serve me, to inspire me, to allow my passions to be the thing that stands first and foremost versus my resentment for not being able to express those passions? So we're going to see Mars is continuing its retrograde until the 11th of January, where it will station direct and then move direct until the 23rd of January. It will be at 8 degrees. And then it'll start to ramp up and move a little more quickly and ultimately getting out of Gemini in March. So I think this is an important thing to be aware of, and also to be aware of, as you are a conscious being, being aware and being more intentional about your experiences and your thoughts and how they facilitate your experiences. You're walking around a community of people that may not be aligned to that. So you can really avoid a lot of the mayhem that others may experience because of your awareness and your intention. So I want to offer that to you. I think one day of note is New Year's Day through the 2nd. The moon has entered Gemini and it's heading towards Mars, and it's trining Venus, who is entered Aquarius at 0 degrees. This feels like a bit of an emotional day to me. It feels a little bit like I'm really truly reflecting, and maybe it's because it's right past New Year's. The holidays are over now. We're looking what are we moving forward in 2023? How is this year going to play out? But I think it's an important time to really think about in Venus entering Aquarius gives me an opportunity to liberate myself. Venus is my self-worth. I'm taking the feminine aspect out. I'm taking the traditional money out, and I'm just going to self-worth because Mars has been in Gemini, really thinking about how I show up. He's been forced to do that. And in many ways, this is honing the hero energy that Mars has to offer. It's kind of like wax on, wax off, you know, if you remember Karate Kid. So I think that this day, the 1st and the 2nd, are going to give us a deep urging to reflect on the conversation that Venus had with Pluto as she exited Capricorn, giving herself an opportunity to look at the structure of her own self-worth, and was she actually inadvertently getting in her own way, allowing her fears to paralyze her, or now is she's willing to move forward with that. So I think this is a really, really kind of fun thing. And this full moon at the end of the week, the 6th, is going to just really bring a spotlight on that. And I really want to encourage you to watch the full moon video that I did, part 1. I named it Cancer because I started it as the Cancer full moon. But when I did my research, I realized that we're having 7 subsequent sequential full moons at the 16th degree. And it's a theme that I think is super important, and it's going to play itself out in 2023. So I would encourage you to go watch that. I also did a second video that focused a little bit more on the Cancer full moon and gave you your readings and how that full moon, what house it'll affect. Because all of this is being threaded together in some ways to rewrite our story and give us an opportunity to rewrite our story the way we want it. Okay. So what we're going to do now is our readings. I'm going to pull one tarot card. I'm going to start with Capricorn. Happy birthday, Capricorn. And I'm going to work my way around the zodiac. I don't want to just always start with Aries because it just seems unfair. I'm a Libra sun. I also, excuse me, Lucky. Hey, I apologize. Lucky was having a moment in the kitchen. So I'm starting with the birthday month. This is whole sign Western astrology, again, based on your rising sign. I would check my moon next, the sun, and if you have a stellium. All right, so Capricorn, your tarot card for the first week of the new year is a celebration of home. You know, enjoying things, counting what is working, what feels good. You know, if you were lucky to spend the holidays with your loved ones and got to enjoy them, really give yourself an opportunity to reflect on that. Rather, I think this is about continuing celebration versus trying to hit the ground running work-wise. Remember, we're in a Mercury retrograde. Let's see what the reading has to say. We'll get a little more fine tuning here. The Mars is your 6th house of work. So here we're seeing Mars being at the 8th degree for most of January, the first almost over 3 weeks, 3 weeks. So this is giving you an opportunity to really reflect on, the actions you take in your work environment. Are they fueling your happiness, your celebration, what you want to experience? And this week being a week of Mars and Mercury both being in retrograde is really not about trying to push the story forward right now, but rather giving yourself an opportunity to be inspired through rest, through relaxation, through sort of not driving the car right now, but rather maybe parking on on an oceanside cliff and looking out for a while. That's a metaphor. Archangel Uriel is our first angel. The second is the Earth Fairy. So this makes me feel that, yes, there's a couple of things going on. Capricorn may be feeling a little sluggish from overindulgence during the holiday season, because the Earth Fairy can represent physical health, but it's also about foundations and the ground you walk on. So I feel as if you've had frustrations moving the story forward in some way, allow for the divine disruption that Spirit is working on your behalf. I have Sonia, which represents your heavenly team, in the opportunity, the obstacle, with the disruption card. I have Xana, the angel of protection, with the restriction card here. And then I have Opal and the eagle. I'm going to offer this. Capricorn, if indeed you have been endeavoring to change your work environment in some ways. Again, Gemini is your 6th house. We're talking about the 8th degree, Mars being at the 8th degree, which is the Scorpion transformational, dig deep into your own psychology and to see where potentially your fears have had you holding yourself back, or where you have maybe depended on other people in a way that you sort of knew in the back of your head was giving your power away. Because Archangel Uriel and the Earth Fairy are about frustration and anger. And you could be, I don't know, maybe you're having health issues, but if you're having health issues, frustration is not going to serve you right now. It's going to stop things. So this is all about slowing down, giving yourself an opportunity to count your blessings, to look at what is working, to allow your heavenly team to create a situation. This is disruption. This is divine disruption. It could be that you're endeavoring something that wasn't really going to lead to your happiness or support your good health. The 6th house is a house of health, work, service to others. You're being protected. That restriction you're feeling is protecting you. That Mars holding you back a little bit is really supporting a bigger version and sort of allowing for the universe to cut away the feelings of obligation, duty, anywhere you're following a picture or a story that is really based on somebody else's idea of what makes somebody happy. Because Opal is here. Opal says God is taking care of your children. In this case, would be your inner child, the child that you may not let out often enough. And here's the eagle. There is restriction going on. This is a natural, with Mercury and Mars retrograde for the first solid 2 weeks of the year, trying to push the story forward is almost like just adding to the frustration. So this is a really good time to plan. Capricorn's a natural builder. So I think this is about getting out the blueprints and maybe even creating a vision board. I've been kind of into that idea lately of what you want to experience and feel in the new year, and use that as the action item while the universe is moving the chess pieces so that you have an opening come after the retrogrades are over. All right, let's go on to our next, which is Aquarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Mars is stationing at that 8th degree. As it slows its roll from retrograde, it's going to move forward, and it's going to spend, from the 1st to the 23rd at the 8th degree of transformation, of being brave enough to look at my deep psychology, the deep imprint. The 8th house being the 8th degree rules trauma and chaos and things that change our belief system. But sometimes the things that feel so jarring and that what feels like chaos is really breaking away an illusion and some sort of disempowerment or some sort of ceiling on the truth of your dreams. So Aquarius, we have the moon. And here straight up, I heard the word confusion. You have had Saturn going through your house, Mars being retrograde in your 5th house of creativity, of conception, of romance, of personal expression, entertainment, and hobbies and fun, naturally ruled by Leo. If you've been feeling a little bit confused or indecisive or uncertain, it's okay. Let's see what the angels have to say. Again, I really think that this last part of 2022 and the beginning of 2023 is a recalibration, a strategy, an assessment that gives us open eyes that we never had before, because the structures around us have changed so much. And in some ways, they have put us on high alert. Gemini is the media. Gemini is what we saturate ourselves in on social media, the communications we have. And many people are riddled with fear right now for good reason. And so this is really could be triggering Aquarius, because you rule the nervous system. Okay, it could making you nervous. But Spirit has shown me over and over again, when it comes to Aquarius and that anxious feeling, it's because there's somewhere inside of you, there's a war between what you know is expected of you, Saturn, your ancient ruler, and what you want to do and the way you want to innovate your life, your modern day ruler, Uranus, where you want to rebel and be loved and accepted by your group and community. So let's see. Our first angel is Opal. The second is Yvonne. The third is Mystique. And the final is Archangel Raphael. Oftentimes I work with people who are trying to have children, bringing in children, and they think they're bringing in children, but they're really bringing in a soul that has agreed to have an experience for its evolution and its highest and greatest good. So here I'm going to determine whether this is your inner child, Aquarius, or whether this is actually you trying to conceive, because this is your 5th house. But if indeed you've had troubles, don't hang your hat on yesteryear. Saturn rules history. Okay, so let's let that sort of be if previous experiences be historic, because if you buy to the idea that you're bringing a soul into this world, then the soul you're bringing in will have a natal chart, and the aspects that we've been experiencing have been very challenging. So that soul may not want that imprint on the natal chart and may be waiting for things to be ever so slightly calmer. So here, let's see. Opal is being joined by the Truth card. Yvonne is being joined by the Restriction card. Mystique is being joined by the Novice. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Joy card. I want to offer this. I think right now Mars's transit through your house and staying at this 8th degree is really having you determine what you want and how you want to birth yourself into the world. When I saw the Truth card, I really felt like that was the truth of your inner child. I firmly believe that there is such an innovative energy in Aquarius. It's such the high octave of air, of thought, that it's more connected to the angelic realm, to that which cannot be seen than it realizes. And when those intuitions are stoked, it feels like anxiety. And then humans walk around owning their anxiety like it's a ball and chain, when it's really an alert system saying, which direction do you want to go? Because Opal is asking you to trust God and the angels to have your back while you go into your deepest truth. Yvonne is asking you to really slow down. Yvonne is at vulnerability, and the Restriction card is really to slow down, so that rather than feeling confused, you can tap into the moon as your intuition, as your inner knowing, as the inner truth, the inner being, the who you really are. Because Mystique is just saying, keep charging ahead, expect miraculous solutions. This angel for me is always about coming out of a dark situation and I'm heading into the light. I have not achieved full realization. And there's the Novice, new skills without practice, a new beginning, just breaking ground. And here is Archangel Raphael. You will feel a balancing. I prefer to use the word balancing rather than healing, because I do not believe you're broken. I believe it's about an awareness that dark serves light and light serves dark. We cannot feel empowerment without a challenge. So here there's an epiphany of your joy. And I think this goes back to here. So these first week of the year, as Mars, the planet of action, is stationing retrograde to go direct, it's tasking you to be brave rather than angry or resentful, and brave inside to trust an inner knowing that's taking you outside the box of common structure. And to know that that's really where other souls banging around in human bodies want to go too. And in doing so, you allow not only your own hopes and dreams to be stoked and fueled, but you bring others with you. So it's really powerful. The fifth house is the house of great leadership. It's naturally ruled by Leo. All right, let's go on to our Pisces. We have the King of Pentacles. This is has a very Taurian energy. You can see the bulls on it. It's the King of Earth. So let's see what this is going to mean. This could be bounty. It could be money. We are in your fourth house. Gemini is your fourth house of home, of the country of origin, of self-nurturing. And Pisces is a mutable sign. So we know that when I say Pisces is a mutable sign, it's very much, here we have the fourth house of nurturing and caretaking, and Pisces, which is a natural, compassionate, empathetic energy. And this might be asking you to stand in the highest vibration of earth with your feet on the ground. Oh, I just think that's what's happening here. Our first angel for Pisces is Yvonne. The second is Rosetta. The third is Xana. And the final is Bethany. Absolutely, Pisces, that's what this is about. This is about trusting that if you put your feet, plant them on the earth, and allow yourself to be a little, Taurus is a fixed sign. Not all earth signs are fixed, but this is a lot of bulls on it. There's a lot of pomegranates. There's bounty here. And I think part of that is about being bullish, maybe in standing in what is important to you within your fourth house energy, your home, and I don't mean this in a way where you're being argumentative. I think this is where Mars is giving you an opportunity through this transit to be brave in how you express yourself, rather than giving your power up or stifling it down until you're ready to, pop. This is an opportunity to be more steadfast and grounded as you are vulnerable to the expression of yourself. This is interesting. We've got this twice. We got this earlier, restriction and Yvonne. There is a moment where spirit wants you to stop and really be vulnerable to the pause of reflection. Rosetta is here with the goblin. Xana is here with the queen, and Bethany is here with the raven. The thing about the mutable signs sometimes, or the real nurturing signs, is that they care for others to the detriment of self. And it builds an energy of such imbalance that the nurturer isn't nurturing the way they really want to, and the nurturee is not receiving the way that they can most benefit. So here, I think this is about standing strong and taking care of you. Venus rules Taurus. Taurus rules our family history and how much confidence we have in ourselves as a result of our childhood experience. I think this is giving you an opportunity to stand with your feet on the ground and be vulnerable to the pause, so that you can see if inadvertently you're standing on an old story from your childhood that is edging out the wisdom that you have garnished and the journey of spirituality that you have worked so hard to achieve. Pisces is a very spiritual sign, and Mars is tasking you to be very brave here. And this is all about you in this dynamic, because if you're lost, or if you're feeling overly I want to use the word milked, like as if you were, a cow bringing milk to the family, and you've just been milked and milked and you don't have a drop left, because Xana is the angel of protection, and here's the queen. And the queen is a receptive energy. It's also a fertile energy. So I want you to start to think, and I don't think this is about children. I think this is about you, because Bethany shows up about self-care, and the raven says, it's time. The magic is here, synchronistic events. This is a time when the coincidences that come about give you an opportunity to see that as you self-care in a way that really is not about how others will respond to it, but how you feel in the deepest depths of your soul. You rule the ancestors, you rule dreams, you rule poetry and dancing and creativity and imagination and photography. And I feel like this is about standing ground for just this week or two and really reflecting on the actions that you want to take and be braver than you've ever been. The 8th degree is offering, in its long stint of 3 weeks, an opportunity to look at a deep psychological level of where we're getting in our own way because we've been imprinted with something. And in order to reprint it, we have to allow for an experience, because words don't teach. Experience teaches. So now we have to kind of be vulnerable to that moment and know that the timing is magical, because whatever the old story is, the bones have been picked clean and it's time for the raven to fly. All right, let's go on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Jupiter is in the house, baby, until May. Take advantage of the energy. It expands, brings wealth, good luck, joy. You also have Chiron in the house. This is the opportunity to transform your wound into the gift by being brave, because your ruling planet is in the house of thought and the house of your community, your siblings, how you speak, how you teach others. And you may have been feeling like things have been a little dramatic lately. The 10 of Swords is an overkill. Okay, the 10 of Swords, all sword cards represent strife and struggle. But where does strife and struggle really come from? It comes from thought process. Two people can experience the exact same situation and perceive it differently, and thereby process it mentally differently and emotionally. So while Mars has been retrograde, it hasn't been easy for you. Chiron may have initially been stoking your wound, your sense of, am I being seen? Am I, where do I matter in all of it? You know, Chiron is a selfless energy, a healer, and a very wise energy. So I think here is where I personally have been feeling, as an Aries rising, that Mars has been teaching me how to tame my tongue, to speak in a way where I'm not overreacting to things, but rather intentionally reacting. So I'm going to tell you a story today. I went across the street to this little market. I come out, this guy's walking his German Shepherd in front of me. He stops to let the dog pick up a ball, I guess that it was in the street. I didn't know if the dog had dropped it or if it, you know what. But then he turns and he goes, do you want it? And I what? Do I want the ball? No, thank you. And then he said, okay, old lady. Now, my Aries a few years ago would have shot back, you know, the F word to this guy, but, you know, I didn't. I said, you know, unnecessary adjectives, unnecessary. And I felt like, you know, and then I walk in the pet store to get my pee-pee pads because it's raining. And it was a mom and her son that were apparently witnessed the whole thing, and they couldn't believe how rude the guy was. And the woman was like, I'm surprised you didn't yell at him. And then I even felt even stronger about what I had done. Aries, I don't tell these stories for no reason, although it feels like it sometimes. Okay, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, Celeste, and Xana. Wow, I just was pulled, just like to pull them off the top. And there we have an epiphany, Archangel Raphael bringing a balancing, aka used to be known as a healing. Archangel Michael asking Aries to be brave, courageous in shifting the way you think. You are protected. You know, your Aries energy is so needed on this planet. But when it's out of control, it's not the best. So I think this is about having an opportunity to maybe see that you've healed from a lot of drama. Isn't that nice? That's how I felt. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the letting go card. I love it. Archangel Michael's being joined by the dragon. Celeste is being joined by the trust card. And Xana is being joined by the burden card. Okay, So I want to offer this because I think this is kind of magical, because Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio. So you're the co-ruler of the 8th degree. And you're all, this is all about you. Mars and Gemini. You are learning how to not let things go, because Mars doesn't do that. Mars holds on to things. But what you are learning is to make this, let it go, from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test my limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. That's also Chiron going through Aries right now. That's a wound about the self, because Archangel Michael is asking Aries to have the courage to be calm, cool, and collected in their power. No more are you the screaming banshee warrior running in, blowing everybody up. No, you're going in like a stealth bomber now, because you're starting to trust your thoughts. You're starting to use that instinct and turn it into really fine-tuned intuition. But you're not done. You got a little ways to go, because Mars is still going through Gemini. So you're heading into this retrograde. It's slowing down before Mars goes forward again. And so this period of time may feel frustrating. You may feel anxious to implement what you've learned, but this is about pacing yourself. And this is why you're exalted in Capricorn, because that's what Saturn is teaching you. Because Xana is the angel of protection. And sometimes Aries doesn't feel protected because they're used to doing everything by themselves. But now that you've had this journey of awareness that your words are inspiring when you use them intentionally, now you've changed your experience. And now as Mars moves forward, you're going to get to start to implement those things. So by the time Mars moves into Cancer, that emotional, feely, touchy place won't bother you so much, because I think you will have transformed something, and you'll start to pull out an intuitive energy from Cancer versus the watery emotional energy. Okay. So don't be dramatic. Feel the love. I'm an Aries rising. I can be very dramatic. Just talking, as you can see, the way I present myself. Okay. Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first week of the year, your tarot card is, Taurus, you got to love money, 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 money. We love the 10 of Pentacles. Now, Taurus, Mars is in your second house. Second house rules money. It's your natural house. Let's see what's going on here. Because the nice thing about the 10 of Pentacles is it's not just money, it's tradition. We see depicted in the card, the mom, the dad, the children, the grandparents, the pets. It's flush, it's full with so many of the things that we love in a Venusian way, things that make us feel comfortable and feel at home and feel a sense of tradition and belonging. So let's see. Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Shanti, the angel of peace. The second is Archangel Raphael. The third is Astera. And the final is Daniel. Wow. Okay. Loving this. Uranus has been going through Taurus for quite some time. I don't have in the back of my head, I'm not really remembering the year. I feel like it was 2017 it entered, but I could be wrong. But it's been offering you an opportunity to break up that. I'm a Taurus moon. So when you're fixed moon, you sometimes you can be a little stubborn if you don't get the right kind of apology. I know I am, but I want to offer it this way, because where I'm going with this is some of the things where you've been stuck, where you've felt that sense of pulling on you and being unsure of yourself. I think that's getting blown up by Uranus. So when I see Shanti, the angel of peace, being joined by the independent cat, that makes me feel excited. Archangel Raphael is being joined by Merlin. Astera is being joined by the Burden card. And Archangel Daniel is being joined by Archangel Daniel. I just gave him an upgrade. Daniel is being joined by the focus card. Okay, this is what I want to say for my Tauruses. This is your second house, okay? Meaning Mars is transiting your second house. It's stationing at this 8th degree for most of the first 3 weeks of January 2023. We have Mercury retrograde. Mars is going to go direct on the 12th, and we're having a full moon in Cancer this week. So where I'm going with all of this is I think that in order to feel a sense of peace, this is the cat. I want to think this is 9 lives. I want to give myself an opportunity to think, hey, I haven't used all my 9 lives. And now I want to think about how I independently feel a sense of peace. How do I feel peace? Because I know I love luxury, and I love to feel a sense of having money in the bank and feeling comfort there, and making your own money. But here's Archangel Raphael, which is the physical healer. But I always see this epiphany, and here's Merlin offering you more money, more balance, feeling a sense of money, and because it rules alchemy, feeling a sense of being able to. I want to offer it this way. I think that this first week for Taurus, you get to slow down your roll and really figure out what gives you a sense of peace and independence. And then expect Spirit to give you some sort of inspiration that leads you to where you will most feel the magic coming in, the idea of feeling balanced, the idea of feeling that money is coming in. And I think that this week or two, slowing down, and again, I'm going to kind of harp on the Mars thing, being brave in your thought process, because it may be a bit of a burden for you to reach outside of your box. You know, Taurus likes comfort, it likes steadiness, it likes familiarity, and your biggest joy may come from stepping a little bit out of your familiar box and into something that you might think is a little bit outside that box and unattainable. We have Daniel, the angel of marriage, and then we have the focus card. And right now, while it could be an intimate partner, I think it's a partnership in bounty, in partnership in bringing forth all the things that you want, making sure that if you're looking for work, it fills your inspiration bubble, it fills, all your check boxes. And if you are endeavoring, because this doesn't really have a coupling energy to me, so I'm not really thinking Daniel's talking about marriage partner. Daniel also talks about the history I have in partnerships, professional partnerships and intimate partnerships. And we go back to really individualizing myself away from that history in order to bring forth the partnerships I want. So if you're looking for a job, I get paid a ridiculous amount of money. I love it. I enjoy my coworkers. I enjoy the business. I enjoy the flow, even the disruptions I enjoy. You start talking that story and it'll start to bring bounty in. And then, it's not easy for you to step outside your box a little bit, but if you want your dream job, you may have to go out on a limb, or if you want your dream partnership, you may have to go out on a limb and risk something, risk trusting yourself, your abilities, something, but bounty is possible. All right, Gemini, this is in your first house. You've been going through this for a while, rediscovering yourself. And now this is about defending old wounds. Let's see what Spirit's got to say about that. The 9 of Wands to me is always being on guard. It's like I've never really healed. The character itself has a bandage on his head, but there's no blood. It almost looks like if it was positioned slightly differently, it would be a sweatband. But the rest of his posture feels guarded. It feels self-protective. It feels distrusting, like something's going to come up from behind him and catch him when he's not looking. So let's see. Because Mars going through your first house may be requiring you to be braver about who and what you want for yourself, to be yourself within your community, within your neighborhood, to your siblings, to your teammates, your workmates, all those Geminian things. You rule the most of any sign. And the more we get into technology, the more you tend to rule. So we have Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. The next we have is Aurora saying, you're flying high right now. Don't descend. When they say descend, don't fall into fear. Don't fall into doubt, because you'll soon inspire others with your example. Crystal is offering faith and hope. There's more on the horizon than you can't see. And Archangel Gabriel is here asking you to turn over any insecurities you have to her for transformation. Azure is being joined by the Baird. There's a new story coming. Aurora is offering knowledge and a shedding of a skin with the serpent. Crystal is being joined by the Wasp. So Gemini, if you've been frustrated, and sure enough, Mars would absolutely create a little bit of mayhem in your life, because lower energy of Mars does that. But if it's in your first house, it's probably been breaking something up, because Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Wind Fairy, and you've been telling a story that may not be serving you. So I believe that what's going on is when Mars is at the 8th degree for the first 3 weeks, retrograde for the first part of that, then stationing at 8 degrees for the first 3 weeks. So Mars is going through a retrograde, a stationing, and then a moving forward without actually changing degrees. So that's a lot of reflection about your story, your history, and you have a perfect opportunity to fly off the ledge and leave that story behind by starting to tell a new story, a story that the old story facilitated. Been there, done that, don't need to do it again. Thank you very much, because you've been under fire. The Wasp is not an easy energy, and Spirit is literally saying, don't let your anger mask or blind you from the possibilities ahead, because now it's about honing your thoughts, honing them, because the Gemini can rule the monkey mind, getting so caught up in everyday activities and what everybody thinks in those short bits of information that it misses something. And that's why Sagittarius is its opposite sign, because it's very broad thinking. So I think that this first few weeks could potentially have you starting a new story and being aware of the old story. But maybe now Mars is giving you that transformation of seeing the psychology of, I'm holding on to something that I don't need to hold on to anymore. And I can't release it because it happened to me. So now I'm going to make it work for me. Okay. Let's go on to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I think it's a big week for you because you've got that full moon coming. We've got a lot of Cancerian energy in the full moons that have been happening, which I didn't put together until last week, and it's coming up moving forward. So this is in your 12th house, because the 12th house sits behind you. Again, it's a spiritual house. It's a house where we shed the physical body and we join the collective. It's also a house where we escape. So let's see. All right, we have the King of Cups. Cancer, this is about harnessing your emotions now. This is about, that little red thing in the corner behind the king? That's a warship, okay? It's teeny and small. And this king is finding a solid platform on those wakes. So I think this is about honing your intuitive body. I think this is about potentially reflecting on your I want to say this, I really feel like the caretaking signs will be best served by starting to caretake themselves a bit so that they can be more inspired when they take care of others. So let's look and see. Because this is a double down here. I could see the King of Cups ruling the 12th house. It also rules Pisces. We see Piscean energy in that. And mastering my intuition, mastering my 12th house opportunities, it's where our ancestors live. Okay. Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Oceana is our first angel. This is about taking action. Okay, so Mars is in your 12th house of Gemini. So this is about harnessing your intuitive mind, your intuitive body over your mind. Because the 12th house always makes people feel like there's something that they can't see that they need to be concerned about or worry about. And that's not necessarily the case. And when we are stepping into the higher vibrations of what the 12th house has to offer us, we can trust that energy more and become masters of it. So Oceana talks about taking action on a deeper truth, something from your gut. And there it is. Some things you've been seeing signs and omens that it's time to take action and master your 12th house activities, master your Mars energy. Cancer and Mars aren't exactly, fast bedfellows. Mars does not like the emotionalness of Cancer very much. And Cancer doesn't like the abrasiveness of Mars. So here, I think in this transit, we're talking about you being brave to trust your emotional body, instead of having it just be an alarmist that scares you, because Sonia represents your heavenly team. And then we have fear. And they're not only working with you on fear, but also that there's false evidence appearing real. There's illusion going on here. And you being able to go into your intuitive body will help bring you solace rather than worry. Because Teresa represents worry, and it appears that you've been worrying about a lot of people and about a lot of things. The spider to me is a relationship card. So I think what's really happening is this first 2 weeks, and this week gives Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums an opportunity to decipher between the head and the heart, and understanding that the head and the brain has an imprint that was not authentic to you necessarily, but was also influenced by other people, from your parents to your siblings to your school teachers. I mean, we're talking Gemini here, right? Your 12th house. So this is really an opportunity for you to sort of individualize yourself, because Francesca is being joined by the dog. And I want to offer it this way. I really have been trying to encourage my Cancer energies to understand that self-care is loving others and caring for them. And I think right now that there's a sense of, with Mars, this planet of aggression in some ways, there may be this push-pull in your historic, for all I know, you're having issues with your siblings and they're rising up, or you're having issues with your workmates. And this is an opportunity for you to dig deeper into an intuitive place that says, what if I do something different? What if, rather than doing what's expected of me or what I always do, I just sort of give the universe an opportunity to open a door, to give me a sign or an omen that I can hang my hat on? Because I do think this is about being brave enough to trust your intuitive, emotional body in a way that it's a sensor. Okay, it's not trying to pull you out, pull you under, but to alert you where you're out of alignment and then realign you. And it's time to master this. So this slowdown is an opportunity to decipher when this is going off or when this is speaking. Okay, let's go on to Leo's. My little boy's sitting there. He's like, it's dinner time, Mom. Why'd you start a video right when it's almost my dinner time? I said, I don't know. I just had to. I felt it. All right, Leo, we are looking at balance, temperance. This is a beautiful energy. And I love that little crown, because if anybody gets a crown, it's our Leos. They're the king of the jungle. So here we're talking about Gemini being your 11th house. Balance in your networks, balance in how you are, because Gemini is your 11th house. Mars, I'm focusing in on this Mars 8th degree transformational stationing of Mars's energy for 3 weeks in the beginning of January. And this first week, we're doubling down because Mercury is also retrograde. So we're starting this year with Uranus is retrograde, Mercury is retrograde, Mars is retrograde. We're just going to kind of ease into this year and not make any big declarations or resolutions per se, but purport balance. And let's see, because 11th house also rules our hopes and our dreams. It's also a money house. What is Lucky doing back there? Lucky, hey, Lucky. Junior, thank you. Sorry, everybody. All right, Bridget is our first angel. The second is Ariel. The third is Celeste. And the final is Seraphina. You've had Saturn opposing your house of Leo, and you may have been feeling a sense of old stories showing up that aren't really helping you to feel like you're moving your story forward. Right now, my dog is interrupting with his biting. All right, here we go. Bridget is being joined by the mystery card. Ariel's being joined by the love card. Celeste is being joined by the earth fairy. And Seraphina is being joined by the spider, which is very 11th house for me. Okay, so this is what I want to say. You know, balance really is an ebb and a flow of things. And when things are flowing, we get super excited and we're like, oh, everything's moving. And when they slow down, we get nervous. Nothing's happened. Oh no, does this mean there's a stall? Does this mean everything's tanking? I don't think so. And so here we're talking about Mars is retrograde this week. Mercury is retrograde, reviewing my thoughts and my actions and how I'm taking action in the house of Gemini. I'm focusing in on the 11th house. And Gemini, because Mars is stationing for such a long period of time. This is an energy of action, of bravery, of heroic feats, of adrenaline, of independence. And so is Leo, okay? But Leo sometimes gets a little nervous about their heart, like they get worried, they don't want their heart broken, okay? Romance, etc. So here, I think it's time to look deeper into your choices. And in some ways, if you've been getting a little scared, because this is balance being offered to you, then to realize that you're going through a spiritual awakening, that it's all right, that if you do what you love, then spirit will bring you opportunities, because here is Celeste. And here I'm thinking there's an opportunity for either a new home or a place of employment. And there's the earth fairy. This is also an opportunity to ground somewhere. So if you've been wanting to birth yourself on the internet and create a job for yourself, or you want to literally get a job somewhere, or you're wanting to create something, it is any pauses that you have experienced are an opportunity for you to rest and relax, and also review and refine what you're doing. If it's a job search, are you searching based on your wallet and your bills, or are you basing it on your heart and what will bring passion to you? Because passion is the name of the game when it comes to Mars, because here is an opportunity for a happy change to your family, and here's the network. Now, maybe some of you want to bring babies into the world, but right now I think that this is about you and whatever you're birthing into the network. Again, we see Gemini being your 11th house. So don't get frustrated if Mars is retrograde. It's made you feel like everything is slowed down. Mercury, miscommunications. And instead use this as a time to strategize, to plan, to maybe even stockpile videos, like if you do TikToks, maybe you film a bunch of them or something, anything that gives you a leg up, but isn't taking direct action out right now, because we want to look a little bit deeper into our choices. We want to create balance. Okay, Virgo, Gemini is your 10th house. I think my dog's a little annoyed with me for not feeding him dinner yet. And it's really like only 5 o'clock here. Maybe. Not even. Okay. Pardon me while I interrupt myself. Virgo. Oh, the 2 of Cups. This is a very enjoyable energy. Infers partnership and couplehood, but we see the lion over the top with the wings. This is a feeling of fun. It's a feeling of romance. It has a Leo energy to me. Leo rules romance. I don't know that this is going to be about a relationship, because Gemini is your 10th house. So this could bring in a joyous partnership in your work sector. And at the same time, the 10th house would rule a change of public status. So some of you may end up becoming married, engaged. That's highly possible. Let's look and see. Our first angel is Astera. Reach for the stars. Athena, assert yourself lovingly. Grace and Antoinette is about compassion, and Rochelle is about following your heart. Astera is being joined by the swan. Athena is being joined by the owl. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the bear. And the stag is joining Rochelle. Okay, so for my Virgos, I actually think that this has a lot to do with, I've been focusing in on Mars transit right now because it's stationing at 8 degrees. And I'm repeating myself because I'm assuming a lot of you are just going to the timestamps. So when I talk about Mars being in your 10th house for the last 6 months, your ruling planet is retrograde. I believe this is giving you really an opportunity to think about how you want to assert yourself in the public eye and the kind of partnerships that you want to make, because this is an opportunity to transform and reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And let's just say you are Virgo rising of a certain age, and you've been dependable and you've built a career, and maybe your priorities are shifting, and now it's coming down to more things that you love in partnership with more Leo energy things: entertainment, enjoyment, pleasure, romance, kids. If something is shifting, I think this is a real opportunity during Mars's retrograde stationing period. And then as it's slowly moving forward, again, staying for 3 weeks at the transformational 8th degree, is giving you an opportunity to really decipher how you want to assert yourself, where you're used to asserting yourself, where there's been, if you've worked a job for a long time and you hold a position, you may feel a certain amount of responsibility to that position. And so the shift feels contrary or conflicting. I feel like this is where Spirit is saying, no, just continue to reach for the stars and have compassion for yourself and the story with which you come from, as you start to come into alignment with your more joyous energy, the things you want. I'm interrupting myself, but I come from a generation of people who thought they would retire, like literally retire, not work, and have enough money to just sit around and do nothing. I don't think that's really applicable anymore. So I think your goals are changing. That's where I'm going with this. I feel like maybe you've worked long enough, and even though you're used to working, maybe you'd like to start to really tee up more pleasure, more enjoyment, more travel, more balance in that area, because Rochelle is encouraging you to start to determine what you want and follow your heart and not get too stuck in what your responsibilities are right now. Not getting caught in scarcity, because again, this is a beautiful energy to be able to capitalize on, and you can't capitalize on it when you're running around taking care of all your obligations. This requires slowing down to enjoy yourself. Okay, let's go on to our Libras, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Gemini is your 9th house. Mars has been going through your 9th house. Really, it's interesting because it's topsy-turvy. So while this is its axis Gemini, it's on the opposite side. So it's really stretching the Gemini energy to broaden, to think beyond the small bits of information, and to what do I really want? What do I believe? Because now is a time, this is a card traditionally called of celebration, but it really represents the phases of the human experience through the feminine energy. So it represents the innocent, the maternal, and the crone. I wish I could find a better, more fun word for that since I'm in the crone stage. But Libra, this is about 9th house, is about redefining how you view yourself in the new phase of whatever chapter of life you're in. How are you? What do you believe about yourself? The 9th house traditionally rules the questions: who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose? What's the point? So here, I think this is Mars giving you an opportunity to be brave and heroic about letting your beliefs evolve. Because if you were a person who believed you were only viable in your youth, that would be a mistake. Celeste is the first angel, Bridget is the second, the third is Archangel Michael, and the final is Adriana. Now, I always think Celeste is a shift in my thinking, because you can put my body anywhere on the planet and I believe a certain thing, and I'm going to take my actions based on that belief. So here I'm beginning to think that Libra, this is really about embracing, the chapters as they roll through life. Celeste and the Trust card is here. Bridget and the Wasp. Archangel Michael and the Protection card. Adriana and the Wealth card. I'm going to offer it this way, because Mars is, in some ways you could think of Mars as sort of a teenager, likes young girls and likes to have sex and and some of us are kind of beyond those heightened stages of life. And we don't want to be put out to pasture. We don't want to feel that, there's nothing vital ahead of us. So I want to offer this for my Libras. I think this is really trusting that life is getting sweeter. There's more celebration throughout the phases of life. And my job is to focus in on that, to seek it out, because the wasp is here and there's Bridget. And so somewhere Libra's been a little bit cranky and Mars is cranky. So you could be feeling, I just went across the street. I just said this story to another sign, and some guy called me an old lady for absolutely no reason. And I took it as an insult. And at the same time, I rejected the insult. Okay. So here, I really want you to watch and look deeper into any stinging energies that are coming your way, or anything that's coming from you that's self-judgy or critical, because it's unnecessary. And Mars is at this 8th degree, offering 3 weeks to really dig deep into my monkey mind and see what my thoughts are. Mars is psychological. Mars is the deepest penetrating knowing. It's so intuitive because it's like a profiler, and you watch those great detective shows and the guy just walks in. It's like Columbo walks in and observes things and then just figures it out. Nobody else sees it. That's very Scorpionic. It's very Mars-ish. It's very 8th degree, because you are being protected as you have the courage to make the changes in your life that are divinely guiding you to your happiness, to your wealth. Because here's Adriana saying she's leading you to feeling wealth. And wealth is not about money. Wealth is feeling vital, feeling healthy, feeling plenty of flow and resources and finances. So there is a lot of opportunity to celebrate yourself as you move forward in the chapters of your life, and you start to anchor in the wisdom that you've garnished. And some of the anxiety of our youth, settles down, because we're more focused on what we want for ourselves than whether or not we're making everybody else happy. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios. Gemini is your 8th house. I'm focused in on Mars's stationing retrograde to go direct. Mars is going to be at the 8th degree for the first 3 weeks of the year, both in retrograde and direct motion, which is really begging forth transformation. And what does Scorpio rule? The biggest of all transformations. So don't worry, be happy, because that's a card of insane worry. Now you've got the South Node going through your first house. So, you could be feeling like some toxic energies are being removed. And at the same time, maybe some toxic energies were actually supporting you in some way that was serving you and not serving you at the same time, maybe lowering you or pulling you into a lower vibration of dependency in some way. So let's see where Spirit is looking for you to be brave in your thoughts, because the 8th house naturally rules either control or giving up our control. Scorpio, it's you, the 8th house. And now we're putting Gemini there. So it could have a lot to do with the way you're thinking or how Mars is affecting your thought process. And it begging you to dig deep, deep, deep into the psychological nature of your self-worth and what you believe about yourself. Here we have Merlina, confusion. Then we have Caress at the end of a life cycle. We have Indriel, the light worker. And then we have Adriana. Oftentimes for me personally, I have a Neptune and Mercury in Scorpio in my natal chart. And I have, last time that the nodes went through this axis, I lost everything I own. And I can't help but, be triggered by that a little bit. But then I say to myself, that was 19 years ago. And I know a lot more now, and I don't need to call forth those experiences, because I think that this is more about projection in some way. The monkey mind of Mars, the monkey mind being Gemini ruling the bzzz of our brain, and Mars, the pissed offness, is colliding. Okay, so we have Merlina being joined by the Wasp. We have Caressa being joined by the Queen. We have Indriel being joined by the Horse. And then we have Adriana being joined by the Earth Fairy. Okay, so the Wasp in Merlina is being frustrated with confusion and indecision. If there are people around you that are stringing you along, that are maybe, whether they're girlfriends, boyfriends, friends of friends, family members, I don't know who it is. I think it's time to really think about defaulting to a decision for yourself, because I think this card here, worry, stress, nothing's really out of alignment, and you're not seeing your power in that card. And there's deep psychological stuff, makeup going on down here, and here is all about confusion and frustration and anger and jealousy, and this doesn't feel good. This feels very challenging. But now in your opportunity, your obstacle is the opportunity to end all of that by sitting in a receptive mode. And I mean, like when I see this queen, I think that when she talks about fertility, she's not just talking about bringing a baby forth, but being fertile in my actions, being able to bring forth my own bounty, being able to be, who and what I want to be. Now, Scorpio rules billionaires. Gemini rules my workmates, my teammates, my everyday activities, because there could be the possibility that you've experienced a loss because you are moving into a new, more lucrative chapter that you would not have otherwise moved towards if other people had been cooperative in what you wanted from them, but it was actually diminishing you. Because here's Indriel, the light worker, and here's the horse. And this literally says, I'm going in a new direction. And the new direction is going to bring me much more joy and happiness. And Adriana is leading you to a stronger foundational energy. I'm trying to ignore the glare. I did do this at a bad time of day. I apologize. But I want to offer it this way. Being upset isn't good for you. And being, Scorpio has the stinger and probably has like Mars and Aries has a little bit of a reputation for being difficult. But I think it's only because they're so intuitive and perceptive. And the challenge is, instead of listening to your own intuition and perceptions, you're going outside yourself maybe for validation. And I don't know if you're going to get it. So this is about allowing whatever energies don't serve you anymore, whatever feels toxic or has been stingy, to and over this next week or so, just relax about it. Like, don't even try to, like, if you're in an unhappy relationship and you don't really want to break up, but you want to change the story, maybe it's not time to talk about it at all. Maybe it's time to just lay it flat and let it sit and let the universe do what it does. Whatever the topic is, because I'm not really feeling a topic as much as a general environment. This is a time to be receptive rather than push the story forward. This is a time to reflect if your anger is serving you or if it's just spinning you, and actually, creating stress creates, lowers the immune system. So be mindful there. But if for some reason, because, again, here I'm focusing in on Mars being at the 8th degree in your 8th house. Mars wants to take action. It can't quite get rolling just yet. So this is really an opportunity to dig deep into the psychology of the platform of how you're manifesting. And if you're manifesting to your deepest desires, or if you're manifesting to feel safe and secure. There's a difference, because your desires and your passions will bring safety and security. If you seek security, it's a slippery slope. Okay, let's go on to our final sign, Sagittarius. Gemini is your 7th house of partnerships. So let's see where we're going here. The Fool. This is a fun energy. I actually equate this to Mars energy, because I always think this guy's pioneering out where he doesn't know where he's going, and he's going so quick like Mars, he's not watching where he's going. So let's see where this is coming, because it may be about, thinking about both professional and personal partnerships. But, the 7th house, what people don't talk about, it's diplomacy. It is civility. It is harmony. It is peace. It is a sense of comfort and security in home and partnership. So let's look and see what's being offered to you this week. Our first angel is Archangel Gabriel. Second is Sonia. The third is Archangel Michael. And the final is Rochelle. I always think that, you don't need to trust another person if you're willing to trust the voice in your head that tells you something you don't like to hear, but is true. So here we go. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by Merlin. Sonia's being joined by the Truth card. Archangel Michael's being joined by the Fire Fairy. And Rochelle is being joined by the Hawk. So I want to offer it this way, because the 7th house being Gemini, there's a lot of activity going on in Gemini. The 7th house rules partnerships, both, as I said, professional and personal. And here, I think the Fool is asking you to be very much, standing in Sagittarian energy and be willing to muse and think about what it is that you want to birth forward in the world. Because Archangel Gabriel doesn't just talk about communications, but also having a divine life's purpose in arts and communications, and that she's supporting you to turn over your insecurities. Here is the alchemist, Merlin. This is balance and justice and bringing forth, birthing something. Here is Sonia, your divine team, and the truth. So I believe there's a truth of your heart that's becoming visible to you through Mars's transit in Gemini. I think it's kind of, in some respects, Sagittarius is a mutable sign as well. And in such, there's always a sense of cooperation and consideration of others whilst considering myself. So I think that this is a little bit about coming into partnership with Geminian things that you may want to birth out in the world. Let's say you want to do a vlog or a podcast, or come into partnership with a part of yourself that is birthing some sort of creative endeavor. And creativity is not just the arts. You can be creative in finance. You could be creative as a funeral director. I mean, it's not the genre, it's the inspiration that comes with it, because Archangel Michael is asking you to follow your inspirations, to have the courage to do so, to trust the truth of your inner heart that brings out the Fool who's going to explore something they've never explored before. Now we have Rochelle. As you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you, and the Hawk is telling you there's signs and omens everywhere, telling you to follow your heart. I believe that prosperity is not about money. It's about a trust in the flow and the ebb of the world and the universe and how it works. And so for my Sagittarius, I think that Mars here is asking you to be brave in your willingness to really examine what you need in partnerships, what you want to birth in the world, in the way of your own sense of creativity, your own voice. And I say that because Gemini is about voice. It's about speaking, teaching, writing. And what if what you have to birth out in the world is a combination of a partnership with two parts of yourself that birth something into the world that you didn't imagine you were capable of. And as such, you not only feel rich and full within your bank account, you also feel rich and full within your heart. This is what it's all about. And all roads lead back to this point. So I believe this. I'm going to harp on this until my dying day, because I believe that as we humans are aware of our Geminian energy, of the way our mind has been imprinted by those around us, and then we are able to, we can never release it, but we can identify it. And in the identification, we can then refocus. There may be a wobble, but spirit is really good with us when we're in wobble. Okay, everybody, that's it for me. These are your angel scopes for January 1st through the 6th, 7th, through the 7th. And be sure to check out the full moon video in Cancer. I've got 2 videos. I think there's a lot of really interesting, weird information. And I say weird because I don't think people think like I do. So I've seen a weird pattern of things, or I don't want to call it weird. I just feel like I was very excited about it when I discovered it. So I hope you'll check out those videos. In any case, please like, please subscribe, please share, and please comment. I appreciate all your comments. I read them all. I don't always get a chance to respond, but I try to give you a like so you know that I saw it. Peace out, everybody. Happy New Year.